every time I get COVID or the flu, this is exactly how I feel.
What is happening to me?
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today our movie in the middle is Wolfman. Wolfman is Leigh Whannell's newest film, giving a modern look at the classic Wolfman monster as he slowly transforms over the course of a night. It stars Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, and Matilda Firth. I have always loved werewolves, and I don't think I have yet talked about a werewolf movie on this channel, and that is because we generally haven't gotten a lot of werewolf movies, or at least good werewolf movies. Like, if you go and look up vampire movies, you're going to get a slew of them, and a lot of them you're going to know, and a lot of them are going to be critically acclaimed, or at least liked. Wolf movies, there's like, 5 big ones. You got American Werewolf in London, you got Ginger Snaps, and Wolfman. And that's like the main ones. And then we had, a couple come out last year. We had Werewolves and we had The Beast Within. Of course, I can't fail to mention the coup de grace of werewolf media. Wizards of Waverly Place. Wizards versus Werewolves. But we don't really get a lot of good werewolf movies, or at least ones that are solely about werewolves, and that sucks. I've always loved the idea of a transformation. Vampires are cool, but a werewolf is cool because of the transformation scenes. Like, when I was a kid, I was always fascinated by those Animorph covers, like those book covers and like how they slowly transform, or like those things where you look at it and it's like one side it's one thing and then it transforms into another thing, like those Halloween decorations. I've just always been fascinated by those and how it slowly molds from one thing into the next, but it's still the same person. I don't know, something about it's just been really, really cool. So hearing that we were going to get a new Wolfman movie based on the classic character by the same guy who did Invisible Man and is kind of doing this, new take on the monster universe that was supposed to be like an actual universe, and now it's like, let's just see what different angles we can go with for all these different monsters, like the classic ones. I was all in. I was like, this is going to be really awesome. So starting off with the highs, again, I like these monster movies that we're doing recently because we get to take them and kind of ground them in something. Obviously a lot of monster movies always have like themes or something that they're like being a metaphor for, but very recently have horror movies and specifically monster movies done this a lot more. And I always like to see what angle they're going to go with that makes sense, or something different for the type of monster that they're dealing with. And in this, obviously there's sort of 2 types of angles that you have to decide on. One is the physical nature of what the plot's going to be like and how the transformation is going to happen, and the other one's going to be the thematic elements. And the physical design in this was very cool. I really liked the take that they went, where normally a werewolf changes at the full moon, and it's a very quick transformation, and that's it, and then he goes back. In this, I really like how it's a slow, gradual transformation over the course of the whole night. And not only that, but it's very Cronenberg, It's a lot of body horror. It's like The Fly, a slow losing of hair and moving of muscles and the teeth coming in and the jaw and everything and like hair coming all over the face. It was just like slow and it was gradual, but it was very effective. And so, of course, along with this, as is a staple of most werewolf movies and what it's kind of known for, the prosthetics, the makeup, the practical effects are really well done. That is definitely the best part of this movie because they put a lot of effort into that and it shows. I don't know how many times there was ever CGI, if any. I'm sure there was some, but it was really, really well done. I'm surprised how good it looked and how seamless it looked. It's basically like American Werewolf in London if it looked even better and even more realistic. And not only just the look, but the sensory changes as well. That, honestly, for me, was even cooler because basically it's like a POV of what it's like to turn into a werewolf from the point of view of the person turning. Normally, we don't really get to see that. And it was cool because we got to see all of, like, the stuff that's messed with them in their other senses, such as being able to communicate with other people. And, the visuals that they're seeing in terms of what an animal would see. Obviously, they are designed to hunt, so they're going to be able to see things differently. And especially, my favorite sequence of the movie is something to do with sound. How every sound from far away is super, super heightened. There is a very cool and very creepy, for a very specific reason, scene in this movie that was just really clever. And the whole time you're like, what's going on? And then, like, you find out, and you're like, ooh. Like, this really solidified for me that there are two different types of wolf movies. One is the werewolf, which is a man who turns fully into a werewolf and is more of a wolf with human-like features, whereas the wolf man is more of a man with wolf-like features.
On all levels except physical, I am a wolf.
And is more of the classic, it's like you can still see he's a man, but like he's, gotten a lot of changes in the face specifically and how he runs. And it was very cool to see that sort of distinction here. And story-wise, it makes for a really cool movie because not only do you have the original Wolfman who turns him, so you have to deal with that creature, now he's turning into a Wolfman, and he is the only one who, at a certain point in the beginning, knows how to deal with any of this because he's the only one who's experienced anything like this before, even slightly. And I like those characters who dealt with something or learned something or experienced something as a child, and they're trying to get away from that as much as they can, but when they're put in a specific situation, it is the only way out. They have to go back to that root of what they know, because it kind of makes them a badass. It's like, yeah, they're not trying to be like that or in that situation, but when they have to be, they can turn it on and they know how to survive. And then, of course, there's another layer with this as well in the story, in that he is the only one who's dealt with this before, and yet, because he's turning, he can't deal with it at a certain point, and the other characters have to take it on. And the other characters I thought were really, really great as well. The wife has a lot of balls. I'll say, well, it would seem like it's a stupid decision to like keep around him for as long as they do, and to try to save him and not run away. But the entire point of this movie, at least one of them, is about love and trying to make a marriage work. I really liked that they showed that, and the bravery it takes, like quite literally in this one, to take a marriage and make it work when, you're having issues already. And the actress who plays the girl, I thought she was good too. I like how she's a little bit more mature than I would have expected. She also tries to put on a brave face for a lot of the time, and, she chooses love over fear a lot of the time when it comes to her father. And I also thought it was cool that, obviously, her name is Ginger, which is clearly an homage to Ginger Snaps. And I kind of already touched on this with the love aspect, but the other angle to this is the thematic elements. And again, I like the metaphors that they're going for here. It's one that makes a lot of sense, and it's used a lot in these kind of monster movies. It has to do with, like, parental issues and, kind of distancing yourself from your parents and not trying to become your parents. And obviously there's those parallels of, like, not trying to become a monster and you're becoming a monster and you're, like a parent yourself. And so there's all these parallels that are going on. And I think they did that pretty well, especially considering there's things that happen later in the movie that I definitely should have expected. Like, I'm just really bad at coming up with twists, but, like, I definitely should have expected it, but it still surprised me. And it was cool because of the fact that we got The Beast Within last year, which is basically the same kind of take, but it ends differently. They execute it differently. Whereas that one's a little bit more mean-spirited, and it goes in a different direction. This one takes it and tries to make it a little bit more hopeful, at least for a good amount of the movie. So I like that we got the same concept from both of these werewolf movies, and we got to see two different sides. And again, I just think it's crazy that, like, we got both these movies within, like, 6 months of each other, and they both star actors who look almost exactly the same. For my middles, I talked about, like, how there's the perspective, the POV of the werewolf. And, for a lot of the time, we've got that POV, and then we kind of go outside of it to the other two characters and how they're seeing everything. And there's a lot of great scenes that actually show literally that transformation from one perspective to the next. We kind of get away from the werewolf POV after a bit. We only kind of get to see little bits and pieces. And obviously, I don't think there's much more that they could have done with it, but I would have liked to have seen, like, one or two more scenes with it, because I think that would have been really cool. There was a lot of inventive scenes that came with that, and then they kind of got away from it. Also, this is a really nitpick, but it happens in so many movies. Like, the only one I can think of off the top of my head, it happens in The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. But they kind of do that thing where they cheat, like, daylight coming super fast, where it's like nighttime, and then 2 shots later it's like morning, like the sun's come up. And I know the sun comes up fast, but it's not that fast. And then for my lows, I mean, I think I would have liked it to be just like a little bit scarier. Like, Invisible Man was great because it was not only very well done in terms of story and character, but it was also genuinely scary. Now, with like a monster movie, I'm kind of there for like the cool elements, you know, like the Halloween aspect of like it's cool fantasy horror type of thing. So I don't need it to be like scaring the living daylights out of me, but I would have liked it to be just like a little bit scarier. It relies on a lot of jump scares sometimes. I think that the scares for the most part were okay, but like I would have preferred if I could have been scared just a little bit more. So overall, I think I liked Wolfman more than a lot of other people. There are some people who like it a lot. There's some people who think it's okay, it's passable. And, you know, I totally see that. But there's some people who really don't like it. And that's just, like, really curious to me because, I don't know, I think it was pretty good. Again, I would have preferred it to be a little scarier. It didn't completely blow me away, but I thought it was a cool new take. And I'm really hoping that in this sort of, you know, Godzilla versus Kong comparison of these two types of movies with vampires and werewolves, that we can start to get some more werewolf movies with different takes on them. Because, like I said, I've always liked the concept of the werewolf, and I think it's really cool, but we don't get a lot of it, or if we do, it's like a part of a movie, like Prisoner of Azkaban, or Van Helsing, or Trick or Treat. But I think they did a pretty good job with this. It was a very cool angle to take. I think the acting was pretty well done, and the overall quality I thought was actually pretty good considering I went into it actually thinking it might disappoint me. I'm going to give Wolfman a 3 out of 4. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of Wolfman. How does it compare to the other werewolf movies that you've seen? There's not really that many, but where does it stack among all the other ones? Because, you know, of the ones that are good, they're pretty good. And what is your favorite transformation of a werewolf? And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.